Recording right there. I hit start recording and it says we're recording. We're on 7. We're going to do that whole little bit over. I just recorded this entire video and never hit record on the screen. Can you believe that? Crossbow Appreciation Month is a very difficult undertaking, I'll have you know. But I am recording the audio separately on the Tactacam DR10L. I'm using that as a backup and I'm doing audio separately. I have audio from different sources so that I have a backup and make sure I get my audio recorded. But this video is about the Tacticam 5.0 here on Death by Bungie. This is the Bungie cam. You saw it in action last year when I went to Maryland. You saw it in action last year in northeastern Pennsylvania, right here in my home county when I was hunting last year during the crossbow season, during the 38 days of awesome last year. And now you're going to see it hopefully this weekend in action in north central Pennsylvania at the Tioga Boar Preserve for our meet and greet. And remember, meet is M-E-A-T, meet and greet. How cool is that? Thank you, Gary Rose, for coming up with that cool name. Look forward to meeting him and some others for our meet and greet. But I wanted to do this video to talk about the Tacticam 5.0 and tell you about the settings I'll be using for our upcoming hunt. Now, cool thing about this Tacticam, I want to just jump back in history a little bit. I started filming my own hunts with a Sony Handycam, and believe it or not, when I started hunting with the crossbow, when I started hunting with Bungie, I strapped a Sony Handycam, and I wish I had pictures of this, strapped it to the scope using a rifle cam mount, an old archaic style mount that was available for a while there, but I mounted that on top of it, so every time I would move the crossbow around, I had this whole 3-pound camera going around on top of the crossbow, and I could zoom in, zoom out, and all that sort of thing. Had a screen flipped out, had to flip the footage back over and the software and everything else. That's not a good idea. Very heavy, worked on the scope, going to throw your scope off eventually. I was always worried about that, going to get it bumped somewhere. Plus it stood out like crazy. It's this giant thing up in a tree moving around, looked like a big old eye, big old cyclops looking down at the deer or whatever, right? Not your best option, but for 2010 it was my best option. Later on I got myself a GoPro. Now that's an improvement because it's way lighter. It's an action cam. It's designed for that kind of experience. But it's still mounted on the scope. It's stuck up in the air a little bit. Didn't really care for that an awful lot. Plus, it was a real wide-angle lens. It's got a particular application. It's great for your action sequences. It's great for a field cam, right? For my second camera angle set off from to give you sort of an overview of the hunting area. I think that's an important camera angle. But you're shooting at a deer that's 20 yards away. It looks like he's 50 yards away. So that's always a problem. It wasn't perfect. Let's put it that way. Enter the Tacticam 5.0. Now they've been making this. This is the version 5, whatever. The newest version, at least I think it is. And they have a couple other gadgets to go along with it that they've released this year. But I bought this last year and I've been very happy with it, okay? The picture quality is great. Cool thing about this, it's got a built-in optical zoom of 5.0. Now, I want to show you by comparison here, this is the DSLR I use, right? This is the camera that I film all my interviews with, big old fancy lens, big heavy lens. This, right now I'm at 17 millimeters, this is a nice wide angle lens, 17 millimeters, but I can zoom in with this fancy lens to 50 millimeters by twisting it like this. See how that goes out like that? That's an optical zoom. That is zooming in. Now, Robert Peck had asked me what's the difference between digital and optical zoom. Now, he knows, because he's got a background in photography. He thought that would make a good subject, and I'm sort of explaining that now. We'll do that now. An optical zoom is where, kind of like your binoculars, it zooms in using optics. Optical zoom. Digital zoom is where if I took a picture with this or shot a video with this and then just blew it up on the screen. And what happens when you do that? We all know from working, I don't have it in front of me here, but my cell phone, for example, you take a picture on your cell phone and it's so far away, so you zoom in, right? You zoom in on that cell phone and you take a picture and it looks like garbage. It's all blurry and sort of, it's pixelated. It's not real high quality anymore. They're getting better with that stuff, but it's never quite as good as it would be if you just took it wide, okay? Or if you just got closer and took the picture that way. The reason for that is that's digital zoom. You're really just blowing it up, no different than if you zoom in with your mouse on the screen. Boom, 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 zoom in on a picture. That's really all it is. So that's digital zoom. I don't really care for that. In fact, I turn that off on everything. Now, when you get this camera, that is one of the options, okay? If we take the back cover off, the cool thing about this little camera is we can get And I keep tightening that. I keep locking it instead of unlocking it. But if you take off the little back cap, on the inside it has 3 different colors, right? 3 different little dots, and they tell you it's color coded, and they correspond with. This is why I like this camera. It's so easy to use. When I turn it on, we'll turn a particular color, and that tells you what mode you're in, so you can kind of operate it by sight. But green is 4K. It's going to shoot a 4K image, 4,000 lines by 2,000 lines. That's 4 times greater than HD quality. Wow, that's a lot of resolution, and it's there. Believe me, it's a very beautiful picture. We have zoom mode if it's pink. Now, I originally was not a real big fan of the zoom mode because to me that was a lot like digital zoom, right? It's going to move the picture in digitally, but Nick Pallone, who joined us for the meet and greet, made a very good point that by mounting on your crossbow this way, you take the limbs out of the picture, and in the end, this is his footage. You're going to see more of this at the upcoming meet and greet, but to me it looks pretty good. Reason why I don't shoot 4K is simply because 4K is too much for my computer to handle. It's a lot of data. It's 4 times HD. So I shoot in, and I prefer HD, but slow-mo. Now, slow-mo, it's called slow-mo, and that's blue on this little cap, and that means when I push the button, the light should turn blue. That's awesome. I don't care for the 4K because I can't use it, but the HD slow-mo is what I prefer. Now, it's not slow motion. When you play it back on your computer, it's not going to appear as though it's in slow motion where everything's going real slow. It's going to play back at regular speed. However, it's shooting 120 frames per second. I use that mode. I shoot slow-mo 120 frames per second with this camera because this is going to be filming my kill shots. This is going to be filming a lot of the animals in action, and I'm going to want to slow it down in the software, slow it down so my videos have that more dramatic appearance. And this would be my second camera angle, right? I might film this at 60 frames per second. That's the most this does. Film my hunting, film my kill shot, my B-roll, all that fun stuff with this at 60 frames per second, so I can slow it down if I want to. But at 120 frames per second, that's where you get to see those arrows. Once the camera recovers after you pull the trigger, that's where you get to see those arrows going right down there toward the animal and all that. And you can really see the impact and everything. The 1080p, 120 frames per second, HD quality, easily enough to give you enough quality where you can see where the arrow made impact and all that good stuff. Totally appropriate for that. It's totally enough for that. Plus my computer will work with it, and that really goes a long way with me. So that's the setting that I use. I use 120 frames per second. Now, how do we set it up for 120 frames per second? How do we make it do that, right? Because there's no screen, there's no buttons, and blah, blah, blah. You can download an app. You can interface with this off your app. I believe I do not do that because I found, again, this is so simple. I don't want to make it more complicated than it is. I've just gone through the manual, download that manual, keep a copy of that on your computer, keep it handy, and then go through the settings that way. And once you've got it set up, it'll stay, unless it goes dead and it resets itself, it will stay at 120 frames per second or whichever setting you choose. Now, how do you change those settings? I went through the manual and stuff like that. Once you get a hang of it, it's not so bad. But really, everything is done with this little interface on front here. All we're going to do is pretend we're going to record, and then we'll push that button. Well, we are going to record, actually. What we're going to do, I'm going to get it where I can see it. Hopefully, you'll be able to see it here on the screen. And I'll do it all up here where you can see it, hopefully, okay? So what we're going to do, we're going to start by hitting record. And you'll see it lights up. It's vibrating. I can feel it vibrating twice. That's the signal. Hey, Rich, I'm recording. Let's say I want to go back to 4K, or I want to try the other modes. What you're going to do is just pause this. See, it's blinking. That means it's recording. What we're going to do, we're just going to push this real quick. Let go. I felt it vibrate, and now it's gone to a solid light here, and the mode is there. It's paused the recording. That's all it's done. I'm going to push this mode button, and now, I don't know if you can see it. There's probably too much light here. But if I can get it to where you can see it, you can see here that is green, the mode for the 4K. To stop recording, just hold it in until I feel it vibrate. Hold it in for 3 seconds, 5 seconds, something like that. It vibrates, shuts down, boom, we're done. It is no longer recording. Mwah! I love this little guy. It is handy. What a refresher, right? You hunt from August, September, October, November, whatever. And then we're off, and I get all lazy. And I forget all about how to work this. And then I got to relearn it and start all over again. It is what it is. But it's totally worth it, and this is what makes life worth living. I cannot wait to shoot some awesome footage with this bad boy and hopefully share it with you right here on Death by Bungie. Some Death by Bungie Tioga Boar Preserve style, meet and greet style Death by Bungie. Hopefully we will have that for you very soon. I hope you get something out of this Tactacam video. If you have to filming your own hunts, if you're doing that stuff, I asked you guys that, and some of you guys are doing it. Some of you want to do it. Some of you really are holding off on it, and that's totally okay. You don't have to film your own hunts. You can watch me film my hunts. But if you have questions about filming your own hunts, if you're curious about doing it, I got a whole playlist of stuff that I went through, and I love talking about this stuff. Actually, I've said this before, I'm actually better, I think, with cameras and better with filming and video and stuff like that. I think I'm better with that than I am a hunter, that's for sure. I think hunting is what I film about, but I really enjoy the camera stuff too, and I love talking about it. I love talking about crossbows too, so there's whatever you want to talk about, shoot me some messages. Check out our group page on the Facebook, check out our regular Facebook page, and stay tuned for the meet and greet. Until next time, all hail Bungie.